introduce yourselves.
I'm Ben from Goatwhore, and
I'm Zach. I play drums in Goatwhore.
Okay. You guys have been touring pretty consistently in support of Carving Out the Eyes of God. After this North American tour, you're headed to Australia in April. Congratulations on that. What are your plans after you return from Australia? Do you have anything lined up for spring, summer?
nothing right off the bat. Things just kind of fall into place, basically. We have little things here and there, like after this tour, we're going to be doing like South by Southwest in Austin in March, and we'll probably work up some dates in between that as well, kind of fill in. But sometimes you really don't know. Things just kind of fall into place, and I think that's maybe a little far ahead for us to really determine. But we're still going to try to tour as much as possible, and I know too, as we get closer to the summer, we have fest tours and stuff, so anything could be possible out of that as well.
Okay. There's been a really noticeable progression. It's kind of an evolution of sorts in the kind of music that Goatwhore produces. Your first album sounds very different from your fourth. The vocal style is extremely different. Was this evolution a conscious decision that the band made together, or is it more of a subtle thing that just happened as you guys went along?
It moves kind of natural, I think, especially, you know, since I joined the band, and, you know, new members coming in, and that whole thing adds a lot more, you know, variation, kind of natural progression, and also influences change and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, it's a natural evolution, per se. I mean, you're definitely gonna, well, hopefully, as a band, you'll grow, and in the beginning you have your influences, and as you grow, they mold into your own sound a little more, and so it then creates the sound of the band that you're doing. So, to me, it's, you know, it's just the evolution. And like you said, you know, with member shifts and changes, you have a lot of different things going on there. You have different people coming in, and so there's other influences that step into the play when you're working out music. I mean, it's not really a drastic jump, but you can see the growth, basically, of a band throughout their records and what they decide to do.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the anatomy of Goatwhore's creative process when it comes to songwriting. For instance, like the parts that Sammy sings, how do you guys determine that? And what's the process like for each of you to contribute the parts that you do to bring together the final product?
Well, it starts basically with Sammy and Zack. Well, Sammy, like, he has these tapes, and they're filled with riffs, and then...
Yeah, we'll sit down with a bunch of tapes of riffs and just go through, and, you know, he's so good at writing the riffs, but I help him with putting them together and experimenting different ways of arranging and keeping it fresh like that, you know.
Okay.
And then, you know, it's from there, it's like a puzzle piece, you know, everything kind of falls into place. Sammy and Zack go through with basically the skeleton of it, and they get it all locked in, and then, you know, we all kind of fall into place. And I mean, pretty much all the vocals are done pretty much as the last element. Once all the music is pretty much solidly in place, then we start laying all the vocals over everything. And Sammy, parts that Sammy sings are kind of like, me and him discuss whether, you know, he feels comfortable when he's playing, if he's going to be able to pull it off on a live thing, because he definitely doesn't want to go into the studio and do something that he can do in the studio, but he can't really pull off in a live representation. So we make sure he's comfortable with certain elements, and then we kind of balance the vocals out as far as that goes as well.
And before that, the songs go through a lot of revisions as well, from the starting point to the end. The song might get totally ripped apart, and, you know, it's good to have a lot of time. Yeah, a lot of time to think about it. And sometimes it's good to have a lot of time to think about it. Sometimes it's not, but I don't know.
Okay, and Zach, you joined the band in 2004, is that right? And you were 17 years old. You were already a pretty solid drummer from what I've seen, looking at old clips of you doing the drum off in the record store and stuff like that. How was it that you ended up hooking up with these guys? Did you know them, or were there tryouts, auditions, anything like that?
I didn't know them. Actually, I was a big fan of the band, and when I was in high school, you know, and I had seen on the internet they were looking for a new drummer, and contacted Ben and set up an audition, flew down, did that, and then got the word, moved out to New Orleans.
Were you kind of, did you know when he contacted you how old he was? Were you weird about having like a teenager in the band, or was that?
Not really. You know, it doesn't really bother me. You know, it's like if you can do the task, it doesn't matter what your age is, really. You know, if it's like an open thing, you know, and if somebody's really willing to step in there and take the beat for all the stuff that we have to do on the road and everything, then so be it. You know, it doesn't matter their age. You know, he actually was pretty mature for his age when he came into the situation. You know, I mean, sometimes he's more mature than Sammy when they drink a little. So, but overall, you know, and not only that, just it's like too. Sometimes it's not always just about if someone can play what you do. Him and Sammy work together really well. They have like this chemistry when they work on new material, you know. And like you said, like Sammy, sometimes he might not have the right head and frame to kind of put the pieces together of all the riffs he might come up with, and Zack works well with him on that. I mean, we could have somebody totally different in on drums that can't be helpful on any of that. Mm-hmm. So it was actually, everything kind of worked out as a result of it, you know, the way him and Sammy, their chemistry works together within the writing structure. So the age thing really doesn't matter.
Okay. All right, and Zack, this has been, what, 6 years with the band, so pretty much your whole young adult life you've been touring with Goatwhore. They've been basically like your second family. Yeah. What has that been like? Because that's not a typical, you know, that's not a typical young adulthood. Usually, you know, you go to college, you're still living with your parents. It's very few people in your age group are doing what you're doing right now. How's that been?
It's been great. My parents might disagree with me, but I think that I've learned a lot more doing this instead of, you know, spending 4 years in college than I would have learned in college, you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's been a great experience and definitely learned a lot from it, and it's been great having, you know, some older, no offense by that, older people who know the ropes kind of, you know, be patient with you and show you how it's done, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's really good, though, is his parents being so supportive, especially at the young age he was, too, you know. I mean, there's a lot of parents that probably would have been like, oh, hell no.
To just release your son to these guys.
Yeah, you know, to just totally let it go. But they're really good people, you know, so they're really open about a lot of things.
Yeah, it definitely helps having the support.
Yeah, and you know, you always, like I remember when I was younger and I first started doing it and I was going on the road, you know, sometimes my parents question me about the college thing, but the thing about it is like if you do this now, you know, and you go out and you chase after it, and whatever, if nothing becomes of it, no big deal, but at least you chased after it. College is always there. This situation isn't always here, you know, the situation to be able to do something like this, to be able to chase after it and not have any kind of like things holding you down. So, you know, I know it's a question that arises with people a lot, but you can always remember that college will be there. I mean, so what if you're a little older and you have to go to college then, you know, maybe chase after some kind of career, but this won't be there when you're 45, you know, and then you'll look back and be like, damn, I should have grabbed and went after it when I had the chance, because now I feel like I've left something back.
Okay. You guys have mentioned in the past certain bands that you consider to be influences of yours, Ben. Celtic Frost comes up a lot, and Motorhead and Black Sabbath for you. What was your progression to listening to extreme metal? Like, you know, as kids, we don't really start out listening to death metal when we're small. You kind of listen to whatever's around, and then you start discovering that you kind of have a taste for more extreme music. Like, how did that flow go with you guys when you were kids? Like, how did you find yourselves listening to what you do now and playing what you do now?